Yeah, I'm just going to go back to Mark's point about being more than just a line keeper, because I've just had a flashback, Mark. We were covering a game, Leicester, and Kasper Schmeichel was obviously playing in goal, and he didn't have a single save to make. And then I said, oh, it didn't have much to do. It's sort of an icebreaker. He looks at me and says, no, 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 no. There was still a lot for me to do. I didn't have to make a save, but there was still plenty. And then you looked at me and says, yeah, he doesn't like that. I mean, what else are you expecting to see from a goalkeeper in the modern era that can actually put them in the bracket of world class?
Well, I mean, you know, you look at all the modern-day goalkeepers now, and you talk about Ederson, Alisson, for example, in the Premier League, who are regarded as probably the two best goalkeepers. They control that space between themselves and their back line. Most of the time, Manchester City and Liverpool are in possession of the ball, so they're playing a very, very high line. De Gea is a goalkeeper that likes to play very deep. He's more of a traditional style, who tends to stay on his line, doesn't come out for a lot of crosses. Alisson, Ederson do. I mean, for me, a goalkeeper is more about the all-round performance. Neuer is probably the best example. Neuer's coming back to his very best form. That controlling of that space, the dominance of his 80-yard box, being able to turn defence into an attack in a blink of an eye. That's what Ederson, Alisson do incredibly well. Ter Stegen does it really well. De Gea doesn't do that for me. And then now you add the fact that he is making a lot of high-profile mistakes. I think he needs to step out of the team. I think he needs to take him out of the firing line. I think he needs a bit of time now out of the side, and he needs to try and regain some confidence, because every time there's a shot on goal, you fear that it's going to end up in the back of the net.
We ran a poll via our Stadium Astro Twitter account. Should De Gea be dropped? 81% last time I checked said yes, he should. The question is, Mark and Rene, I mean, you just mentioned he should be taken out the firing line. That happened to him when he was much younger. He's an older keeper now. And the thing is, you have someone like Dean Henderson waiting in the wings. Rene, would you go with De Gea or Henderson next season?
Again, for me, it's a matter of, again, the commitment. You know, you need to. Sometimes you can get, if you be a club a very, very long time, you maybe a question of maybe getting stale. I don't know, but there's a few things there, and obviously that poll is very much answered on the basis of emotion, and that's what fans do. You know, when you're winning, it's a smiley face, and when you're losing, it's a sad face, and nothing is good. You know, against Crystal Palace, probably De Gea saved the 3 points for Manchester United, and you know that's how it is. Everybody knows how good a goalkeeper he can be. Where are these errors coming from? That's what I'm interested in. Now, is Henderson the answer? Henderson is a young, potentially probably very good goalkeeper, but again, I'm going to repeat myself. Playing for Manchester United is a completely different kettle of fish than being, you know, a Premier goalkeeper, with all due respect, for Sheffield United. Dean, in my opinion, would benefit from having another loan spell, you know, in the Premier League. Keep playing, because the pressures at the club of the size of Manchester United are different, much different. De Gea has the experience to play at that level. Like I said, I would like to know, you know, where those errors come from, because in my time, you know, they were far between. You know, you hardly saw any of those, you know, sort of mistakes. So I don't know exactly what the answer is. I mean, I was surprised that he didn't start with Romero. He's done extremely well in all the cup games. You know, Frank Lampard did, Ola didn't. And he must also think by himself, you know, what role have I to play at Old Trafford?
Something else that took me by surprise, Mark, I'm not sure if you saw this a few days ago, Emilio Alvarez. He was the former goalkeeping coach at Manchester United for De Gea, brought in particularly for De Gea because he was his coach over at Atletico Madrid many years ago. He's come out and called him disloyal. Says he's the reason why he actually left Manchester United. Now, I don't know why he's come out to say this now, but I still find it quite interesting. So would you stay with De Gea for next season or not?
I'd actually take him out of the side now. I'd play Romeo between now and the end of the season. What would I do for the next season? Listen, I think there are similarities for when Pepe Reina was at Liverpool. He was outstanding for Liverpool for many, many years. And probably his last 18 months to 2 years, his form dropped dramatically, made a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes, had to move on. He moved on and went to Napoli and was outstanding again. Sometimes change is as good as anything. And I think De Gea is at that point. I don't see a point of return anymore. I think mentally there's something not quite right with De Gea at the moment in terms of goalkeeping. Henderson the only thing, the thing I'd say about Henderson is, I know what Rene's saying. Playing for Manchester United is very different than playing for a club like Sheffield United. The only thing in defence of Henderson is that he's been at United for a long, long time. Even though he hasn't played a first-team game, he knows what the club is like. He knows the magnitude of the club. He knows the various pressures that go with it. I think he's at a point where he's ready to step up. I'm not saying he's going to step in and not make a mistake. Of course not. But I think he's ready to take that opportunity. I don't think they can go any worse than what's happened right now.
I've just also remembered you and I interviewed Henderson at the same time. It was a back-to-back interview. Did he strike you as a confident man who isn't going to be fazed by the fact that he's stepping out, particularly when the crowds are back, which we're not entirely certain when it will be, but when Old Trafford's at capacity, it can be very, very intimidating?
He's shown already this season, like he made a huge mistake against Liverpool at home when they lost the game 1-0 for Sheffield United. And off the back of that, he went on I think it was 7 or 8 games without conceding a goal. So he's got the mental strength in terms of making a massive mistake, and it was a huge mistake, and be able to pick himself up again and be one of their best players, if not the best player for Sheffield United from that point onwards until the end of the season now. And I think he's outstanding in that regard. He's got that strength. Having chatted to him, he's a very confident young man. And he was very adamant to me back then that he said that he was not going back to United unless he was given the opportunity of being number 1. He wasn't going back to be number 2 to David de Gea.